Hi, everybody. Rabbi Rosenberg here, and I want to share a quick teaching from this week's Torah portion. In Leviticus chapter 14, verse 22, we're told that among the various animals that we're allowed to offer on the altar, there are two birds that are considered acceptable sacrifices, and they are the turtle dove and the pigeon. And the reason that we're told in the Talmud by Rabbi Abahu that these two birds in particular are allowed to be offered is because they are, in his language, always pursued and never pursuers. They are never birds of prey. And he says explicitly, it is always better to be among the pursued than to be among the pursuers. Now, when I first read that, it struck me as another in a long and wonderful chain of teachings about the potential, about the unholiness of violence. Judaism is clear that sometimes violence is necessary, but it's never holy. It's never how we can get closer to God. And it seems that when talking about our sacrifices, which are inherently about getting closer to God and to holiness, it's important to remember that violence is never part of that equation. But Rabbi Sheldon Lewis takes this in a slightly different direction when he says that really we're not talking mainly about the bird's potential for violence here. What we're talking about is the bird's vulnerability. By saying that these birds are always among the pursued and never among the pursuers, what we're really saying, according to Rabbi Lewis, is that these birds live their lives vulnerable. That's part of their nature. And he says that's what makes them holy. We tend to think of vulnerability as a negative, but we also know that there's a really important side to being vulnerable. Being vulnerable means being open. It means being honest about what hurts us. It means letting other people in a way which might not be safe, but allows us to get closer. Vulnerability is about that open-hearted humanity more than it's about anything else. And that seems like another teaching which is so relevant and so important for this time, because if there's anything that we are feeling right now, surely we are feeling vulnerable. We're feeling vulnerable because there is a virus out there which is highly infectious and incredibly dangerous, and that makes it scary. And we're walking around, most of us, afraid that we might get sick or that someone that we know and love might get sick. But we're also feeling vulnerable because the world just seems to be upside down. It seems to be in a state of chaos. Even if I don't get this virus, even if no one that I love gets sick, this is still a terrible time. Everything that we thought we knew, everything that just seemed normal, doesn't seem normal now. A simple trip to the store feels like a high adventure. Going outside for a walk comes with a whole new set of questions. Our world that seems so orderly and reliable and safe just doesn't feel that way anymore, and that makes us vulnerable. And there's a temptation sometimes to hide from that. There's a temptation to deny that that's what we're feeling, to put up a show of strength. But we have to remember that our vulnerability is important because our vulnerability is real. And in a strange way, our vulnerability might be a way we can get closer to God, if for no other reason than honesty is always part of how we get close to God. So please remember, if you are feeling vulnerable right now, that your vulnerability does not make you weak. Your vulnerability makes you human, and it makes you honest, and it makes you at least potentially holy. Take care, everybody.